ki, Navadip Mayapur Dham ki, Mathura Dham ki, Jagannath Puri ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Hare Krishna Nam Hatta ki. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to some devotees, all glories to Guru Sri Gauranga. Congregational preaching ki. So, here we're in 1994, Congregational Preaching Workshop and Seminar. The format is this is as a workshop seminar. That means that it's more interactive. We have different devotees who give presentations through the various daily programs, and then we have question and answers, and also we want to invite the different representatives of yatras to come here and explain some of their realizations and their achievements and their goals and obstacles and solutions to various problems that they are confronted with. We want to have it be a time where we are actually generating a lot of thought, where we're churning the ocean of nectar and getting out some different ideas which we can use in our preaching throughout the year. A science follows under very tested principles. We have here today His Holiness Sridhar Maharaj, who's been very successful in raising funds from both in India and in America. And he's been able to also make the congregation friends of ISKCON, which is an essential part. He's also been preaching for one of our senior preachers. So he's been meditating on this as his service, and he's also understood many things, and he has worked out as a systematic scientific viewpoint also how to make friends of the congregation, and how it's important for getting them to engage in service to the society. So we'd like to request him to kindly share some of his wisdom with us, his practical knowledge. Hare Krishna, please come here.
Right? It's common sense. What do you think is the most uncommon thing in the world? Who can tell me? Huh? Common sense, right? So, anyway. But it is a fact that in this area, we are I think we celebrated our 25th anniversary for the last 3 years. So it's about our 28th year, but anyway, we took advantage of their anniversary, the 25th anniversary, over the last few years. We're about 27, 28 years old as an institution. We're not that old. In fact, we're still, in diapers practically, still wet behind the ears, as they say. We've got a lot to learn. Now, there's a saying that when you want to do something, if it's, supposing you have a big complicated plan, you want to build a motor car, or supposing you wanted to build a motor car. Now, a new motor car, a new brand of motor car. There's a saying about the wheels. Who knows that saying? You don't have to, what? Reinvent the wheel, right? In other words, what I'm saying, or what that means to you, is that there's a lot of people out there who have developed congregations. We're not the first people to try to get a message out to society. We're not the first people to promote religious ideas and try to involve others in the world. It's been done many, many times before. So we can actually learn. Even in our own tradition, there's so much that we can learn from the teachings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and back and back. But especially even in the modern times, although we know that we have state-of-the-art spiritual technology, right? We literally, we have the best religion. And anyway, we have the best religious ideas, practically speaking. There was a survey done in America, a Gallup poll, and they interviewed new religious movements, like the Buddhists and some Christian groups, and, you know, Mahesh this and Yogi that and Ananda this one, and there's so many groups, huh? There are 8 million cults in the naked city. Anyway, there's so many cults and new religious movements, they call them. So they interviewed different people in society, young people especially, about these new religious movements. And they asked them questions on, you know, their techniques of recruiting new people. They asked them about dress, what they thought of them. So many questions. One of the questions they asked them was, how do you rate them as far as philosophy is concerned? And believe it or else, believe it or not, they rated ISKCON as #1 for philosophy. So it's a fact that we have a very good philosophy, and people know it. Our books tell the story. Nobody can defeat us. But we have one minor problem. We're not very good at marketing. We're not very good at presenting and organizing. That's why, in some ways, although we have state-of-the-art spiritual technology, philosophy, we have wonderful books, I mean, we have the best darn food in the whole world. Sri Krishna Mahaprasada ki. It's about another 2 hours. Just relax. We have so many good elements, but still we're relatively small for, okay, 27, 28 years, but still we're very enthusiastic, etc. So we can do better, and that's what we're trying to do now. Most of us in the first generation, we're in our 40s. And I think most of you are probably below 40. How many of you are below 40? I think most of you, yeah. Okay. So in my generation, they used to say that anybody over 30, you can't trust anyone over 30. When I was 20, we used to say you can't trust anyone over 30. But now that I'm 40, I have a new mantra. And that is, life begins at 40. So in terms of fundraising, friend-raising, it's a term I coined. I'm pretty proud of that, actually. Congregational development, or success in any field. It's a statistical fact that from the age of 40 to 55, the biggest $1 million fortunes are made. People achieve their greatest successes in life between the ages of 40 and 55. It's a fact. Because you still have a lot of your health left, most of it. Excuse me. Excuse me. And you made a lot of mistakes. You made lots of mistakes. So I think we can say that about ISKCON, that most of the leaders are in their 40s. And we've done a lot of good things, a lot of right things, but we've also made a few mistakes along the way. And Prabhupada said, mistakes are the pillars of success. Right. So, now is the time for us to grow. Believe it or not, although in some ways, in some areas of the world, temples are struggling. I think, are there any temple presidents here? Huh? Few, quite a few, 5, 6, 7, 8. Any from Germany? No, in Germany they have lady presidents, so that's why I was looking over there. Okay, yeah. So what are two problems the temple presidents always have? Two major problems. Huh? Men and money. Okay. So, believe it or not, although many of our temples are struggling in this area, there's a shortage of chips, money, and there's a shortage of manpower. Any program you want to do, there's always, it seems like there's a shortage. But you know what the experts say? The experts say there's no shortage of money. All the books I've ever read in fundraising, they start off by saying, first of all, for a good cause, there's no shortage of money. There was one other expert who said that. Who knows who that expert was? Huh? Srila Prabhupada, that's right. He also said it. He's the primary expert. And he said there's no shortage of money. He said money is just hanging in the air. You just have to reach out and grab it. Go ahead, try. Huh? See? Gauranga! So you keep your hands open when you put them up like that. When you bring them down, you close them and bring in the money. See? The money is the honey. Anyway, of course, he also, Prabhupada said that we're not interested in money. He said that what we really need is devotees. Money will automatically, Lakshmi will automatically follow. Jayapataka Maharaj and I, we've been working together for so many years. Actually, since 1972, we were here together in Mayapur. I was the treasurer and he was the president, and whew, it was tough. Anyway, I survived. Anyway, it's not that. He has to forgive me, because Prabhupada was the first treasurer in New York. This is a great story. They had the first meeting, 26 2nd Avenue, and I think Rishi Kumar was going to be the something or other. Brahmananda was the president. By the way, Brahmananda is not my brother, so, everybody always asks me. Anyway, Brahmananda was the president, Rishi Kumar was some officer, and Prabhupada was the treasurer. So then the very next day, Rishi Kumar had to buy something. So he went to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, I need some money, I have to buy something. Prabhupada said, you shouldn't ask your spiritual master for money. So I was one of those kind of treasurers, so I was also a cook. I remember we used to cook hot puris and gur. Very nice. But when Prabhupada found out that we were doing it, he was very upset. He said, yogis don't eat hot puris and gur. Anyway, so we go back a long way, and even now we're working together in the same area, because I spent about 19 years in India, and I did a lot of preaching with the congregation. I spent 17 years in Bombay. There we have now about 20,000 life members. We have more members than the Lions or the Rotary Club, it's big, 20,000 life members. These are people who've all paid, relatively speaking, $1,000 or more to ISKCON. And of course, on this side of the world, there's a huge Namahatta program with thousands, tens of thousands of Congregational Namahatta members. So anyway, we've both been working in this field for a long time, and recently we were discussing how our two areas, congregational preaching and fund development, how they overlap. And Maharaj gave a very nice example. He said it's just like Lakshmi and Saraswati. They're sisters, Lakshmi Ji and Saraswati. And, you know, Saraswati is the goddess of learning, or you can say culture, like that. And Lakshmi, of course, is the goddess of wealth. So they work together. And in Namahata also, there's a need for both these elements. On the one side, we want to go into people's homes. We want to present deity worship to them. We want to show them how to offer their food, how to chant beads, how to follow the 4 regulative principles. It's a big thing. It's a very big thing. Once, one of my godbrothers, a very famous sannyasi at that time, he gave a lecture to a big hall of Catholic priests. Okay, Catholic priests, celibate monks, and he spoke to them on the principle of celibacy. After the lecture, the monks came up to him. They were congratulating him. Thank you. It was a nice lecture. We didn't know why we were supposed to be celibate. So you really, we were wondering. We had all these questions. In other words, what to speak of Catholic monks, practically the whole population of the world are engaged in sinful activities, basically because they don't know why they should change their lives. And that's our duty, to go into people's homes and teach them a higher standard of culture, a higher standard of human life, a higher standard of spiritual life. There are Christians, Hindus, Muslims, and Jews, and so many other religions, but basically people are following just ritually. They really don't know why they're doing. They don't know the philosophy behind it. They don't know the practical reasons behind it, and they need improvement. Hare Krishna. Confirmed. Genius. I was a math major, and we're all math men. We like to play with, can you wipe this off? We like to play with triangles, geometry. That was my favorite subject, see? So, I'm going to draw a triangle for you today. And it means a lot. This triangle really means a lot to me here. Okay. Believe it or not, this is a very important triangle. Okay. And it has a lot to do with congregational preaching. And actually, it's a marketing principle. You might ask, where did I get this triangle? I got it from a man named Cliff Underwood in San Diego. Cliff Underwood was a person that we hired. He was a non-profit fundraising consultant. And we hired him to teach us some of the best tricks used by the best fundraisers and congregational preachers in the Western world. They've got a whole science, as Maharaj was saying. Congregational preaching, just like Srila Prabhupada, he took Vedic knowledge and gave us nectar of devotion, which is the science of bhakti yoga. So by doing everything in a scientific, progressive, organized, systematic, effective way, we're going to get good results more quickly. And that's what we're trying to introduce into ISKCON. And I hope you don't get bored by it, you know. It's very valuable. So Mr. Cliff Underwood, I first saw this in 1991 when he made a presentation to our GBC body in Los Angeles. This is known as a, well, we call it a donor pyramid. Donor pyramid. It's a marketing principle. It could be used for earning money in any number of different ways, or it could be used for, as I like to interpret it, for service, for engaging people in devotional service. It's a way of systematically sifting out those people who are more interested and those people who are less interested. I think Satchinandan Maharaj last year, right? How many of you were president last year? About a third of you. Okay. He talked about sifting. You know, like you have a jolly, what do you call what's this thing that things go through? Sifter? Okay, a sifter. Do you know what is a sifter? Huh? You got some raisins and you want to clean them, or some grapes, and it's a colander, you know, and you put water on it and the water goes through. Or in gold, they have a sifter to get the nuggets out. Anyway, okay. This is a system by which at the top here, we're going to get the best result. Although the triangle is the smallest at the top, it's going to be the smallest, but it's going to be the best result up here at the top. So this is a donor pyramid. And like I said, I introduce this all the time in groups. I want you to, in other words, I want you to remember this. It's a very systematic, it's a principle in fundraising and in congregational preaching. In America, in North America alone, non-profit organizations, development officers, or membership directors, you could call them. That's all we know of, but they have a much more sophisticated hierarchy of people, staff. They hire people, professional, people with degrees in college. Non-profit organizations like the Catholic Charities, like your local hospital, like the university. These are all non-profit, supposedly, organizations for the welfare of the people. So they hire staff. They don't have volunteers like we do. And they pay these people $100,000 a year, some of them. Some of them $200,000 a year. In other words, they're highly qualified people. And they collect in North America alone. You can just give me some help here. This is a dollar sign, okay? 135. Every year they collect. How much is that? That's, what is that? $1,350,000. Is that enough? No? Should add a little more there. What's that? $13 million. Every year they collect in North America. Charities collect. Is that enough? Huh? No? More? What's that? 135 million? Is that good enough? You want to go more? Okay. How about that? That's at that's 1 billion, right? Is that good enough? Let's add another zero. How's that? Is that good enough? Everybody ready to stop there? What's that? 13.5 billion? 13. Is that good enough? You happy? Let's add one more zero. Okay? They collect $135 billion a year. Just from 95% of that is collected from individuals. It's not big donations from governments or anything. They know what they're doing. They have a science. Where there's money, intelligent people go to make systems and organize it. So this is one of those systems, and it works, believe me. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, and you don't have to speculate over here. This first level here of the pyramid is known as, you can use other words, but don't everybody get on your spacesuit now here and space out, but this is known as the universe, okay? Now what this means is that to ISKCON, what it means to all of you is that we have a universe of people out there. After 28 years of preaching, after 700 million books in 50 languages, there's a few people who've read those books. and find them quite interesting. We may not have a lot of contact with them, but they're out there. And there's so many evidences. There's another seminar going on today, the book distribution seminar. Devotees are telling stories, amazing stories, about how they went out into the middle of the desert and they came across a little, oasis in the middle of the desert, and there was a little hut and there was a little old man there, and he came out and he said, "I have nectar of devotion, I got it." There was a story like that. What's his name? Tribhuvanath. When he was preaching in the Middle East, he traveled across the desert in Saudi Arabia, stopped in a little small town. He stayed at a man's house. He told the family that they were yogis. The guy said, "Oh, you're yogis? Oh, I have a book on yogi." He went back into his room and came out with a nectar of devotion. He'd got it in the airport in London. Anyway, the point is that there is a universe out there of people who are interested in our philosophy already. Now, who are some of the people, just to give you an idea, who are some of the people who are in our universe who would be interested in Krishna consciousness? Huh? Someone who received a book. Very good. So at least 600 million people, or maybe something less. Someone who got a book. Who else? Huh? Someone who heard the holy name on Harinam. Okay. He's a potential. Give me some other people. Yeah. Okay, a Rath Yatra or something, somebody... Festivals. Sunday feast. Okay, Sunday visitors to the temple. Visitors. Okay, who else? Huh? Prasadam, someone who got prasadam. In New York, years ago, the devotees used to go in the subway and they used to have luglus in little packages. And we distributed every day hundreds and hundreds of luglus with a little message in it. To this day, you go in the subway in New York and people will say, "Where are those little packages you guys used to hand out? They were really good." And then people liked our luglus. They didn't get a book, they didn't, they just got a little luglu. So someone who's got some prasadam. Okay. What about, okay, that's a good one. Relatives. It's a very good one, actually. There's a letter where Prabhupada says that I want all my disciples to make their parents life members. I think Jayapataka Maharaj's mother is a good example of that. She's a life member and a devotee. So, who else? Huh? Radio, okay, someone who heard our radio. It could be, I know Radio Krishna Centrale. They used to go all over Italy. Hundreds and thousands of people, potentially. Yeah? Who? Okay, BBT mail order, perhaps? What else? I know in Russia they were selling they put an advertisement in the newspaper a couple of years ago for Bhagavad Gita, and I heard they were selling 2,000 Bhagavad Gitas a day just from that ad in the newspaper. People hadn't come in contact with us, but the ad was so nice that people were buying Bhagavad Gitas. Yeah? Vegetarians, very good. I was waiting for that. A big group. They're not close to us, but they're in our universe. They could be interested in Krishna consciousness. There's millions and millions. I know in America there's 20 million vegetarians. That's a big number. In England there's a huge number of vegetarians. All over the world, more and more people are turning to either a vegetarian or a non-red meat diet. What are some others? A very obvious one. There's about 700 million of them. What else? Give me a... Indians, right. Okay. All over the world there are many, many Indians. They could be in our universe. They definitely are. Prabhupada said they're our closest allies, friends, potentially. What are some others? Huh? Religious students, okay. And, okay, so religious students, yoga groups, on and on and on. There are many, many people. So what you do basically here, the first stage is that you try to identify and get a list of, as far as possible, people who are in your universe. You target them. This is called in business target marketing. You find out who are the people who would possibly be interested in your product. Instead of sending your message to, millions of people who have no interest, you find out the most likely persons to be interested. And so this is the next stage, and it's called first gift. Well, in fundraising we call it gift, first donation, but it could be first service. For the Saraswati people, I'll refer to the congregation as the Saraswati people, the people who are interested in, developing people's service attitude. The first little service they can do. So what do? You prospect this universe. And how do you do that? 500,000 people. So even if you have their names and addresses, there are ways you can get. You go to magazines. All the magazines in New York that are sent out to vegetarians. So I can buy their list of names and addresses. I can get the Indians' names and addresses. I can get the yoga societies. There's ways you can get these lists, in the West especially. But even from the census, you can find out all the last names of Indians. Or whatever. If you're smart, in other words, this is really what we have to do. We have to use our intelligence more. Book distribution in the next century, or even in the next decade, is going to be those people who are thinking smarter, working smarter. We're already working harder. It's hard to work more than 24 hours a day, and that's what most devotees are doing. We have to use our intelligence more. We have to work smarter to get a better result. So you come up with the names and addresses of the people in your universe, and then by different methods you try to solicit a gift from them. It would be hard for you to go door to door and reach them all individually, because in New York we have 25 devotees. 25, and half of them are pujaris and cooks and this and that, so maybe 10 people. So, each devotee would have to visit 50,000 people. Now, supposing, you had to visit each devotee, 10 devotees, you had to visit 50,000 people. Each devotee, out of 10 devotees, each one had to visit 50,000 people. Now, supposing he could visit every day, he's really fast, he likes sweet rice, so he's really fired up, Every day he meets 15 or 20 people. That's highly unlikely, but let's say he can do it. 20 people. So, how long is it going to take him to meet those 50,000 people once? Any mathematicians here? 12 years. So, that's just the first time he's met them. By the second time he's met them, he may be dead by now. If he joined at 50 years old or 40 years old or whatever. Anyway, it takes a long time to personally meet people. So there are ways by which we can contact these people. And one of the best ways that I know of is called direct mail. How many of you have heard of direct mail or junk mail or whatever? When you get a letter in the mail and it invites you to buy something, a product. How many of you have seen that kind of mail before? I think most of you. Anyway, this is called direct mail. By sending a letter and asking people to do something in the letter. Now, this may be, it's unfamiliar to you, but the fact is it works. And to just, I'll tell you a little of my own experience in direct mail. As I said, I was in Bombay, and we had a large congregation, and I was always agitating my mind how we could contact our old life members more. And so I met a friend of mine. His name was Sri Kumar Podar, an Indian man who he had gone to the West. He was an Indian, Marwadi. He had gone to the West, and he had become a millionaire. He'd become very successful. And actually had become very successful in this field of direct mail. And he had taught New Vrindavan at that time how to do direct mail. So I had met him, I got very friendly with him, and he offered to, he told me, he said, I can give you a donation for your temple, or I can teach you this direct mail process. I said, which do you want, my knowledge or my money? It was a big choice for me. It was tough because I wasn't sure, you know, whether to take the money immediately, maybe would have given $5,000 or something, or to take his knowledge. But I chose to take the knowledge, and he taught me this art of direct mail. And I tried it in India. And while I tried it, I had to input the names into a computer. And at that time, the devotees in Bombay, they were very suspicious. What is a sannyasi doing, playing with a computer and writing letters? You know, he should be out doing Sankirtan and going door to door and whatever it is. There was a lot of criticism, and people also said it won't work. Maybe it worked in America, it's an American technique, but it won't work in India. I had an idea that it had to work because it made sense. It was very logical, it was very reasonable. The books I read, the training I got from Mr. Podar, I tried it for Kumbh Mela in 1989. I mailed to all our life members and invited them to give a donation, and we got a tremendous result. It was incredible, even by Western standards, and I was shocked. And all the devotees were also shocked. And what happened was that I started developing the same thing in Bombay in a very big way. I ended up having 19 employees working for me, just doing direct mail. We came up with 8,000 donors. We were mailing to people from the telephone book. They'd never had any contact with ISKCON at all, and we were mailing to them, asking them to give money for Food for Life. So then I taught Vrindavan how to do it, I taught Bangalore how to do it, Calcutta, and everybody started doing it in India. And then I went back to the West, and I volunteered to teach it to the temples in America. And all the devotees said, well, it worked in India, but it won't work here in America. I fried. Anyway, it did work in America, especially with the Indians, but even with our non-Indian congregation. And I'm going to do a seminar on this in the Samadhi Auditorium in a few days. But the point is, somehow or other, you get a first gift. You mail a direct mail piece to the universe, looking for some interest. It may be for Food for Life, it may be for something to do with yoga, something to do with vegetarianism, whatever appeals to them, you'll get some result. Then what you do with this first gift is, the very first thing is, you communicate with them. Communicate with them. Now, the first kind of communication is what? When you get a gift from someone, what did your mommy teach you to do? Thank you. I think these are two of the most powerful words in the English language. When you do some devotional service and the temple president comes up to you and he puts his arm around you and he says, thank you, Prabhu. Don't you feel good? Huh? Isn't it? When somebody says thank you, even though it's devotional service and you know you have to do it or you're going to be kicked out of the temple or something, you know, or whatever. But if someone says thank you, you feel really good. You feel like you're part of the team, like you're wanted. You've got to do it in fundraising and in friend raising also. Again, if someone does something from the congregation, they come to the temple and you ask them to sweep the temple floor, does anybody ever go up to them afterwards and say, thank you, Prabhu? You know? But that's actually what we should be doing. So you communicate by sending a thank you letter, you send them your newsletter, You send them BTG, IWR, you communicate. And another thing that you do is you try to involve people. These are two very, very important principles in fundraising and friend-raising. Involving can be a simple thing. Involvement can be just asking their advice. We're about to purchase a new temple. Do you think it's in the right area of town? We're asking all of our donors and our congregational people, what do you think? Is this the right area of town? You may get some good advice, first of all. You'd be surprised how qualified congregational people are. You may get some good advice. The second thing is, they begin to think that I'm not just, some external karmi or someone that they use, the temple uses. I'm a part of the temple. It's my temple. They ask my advice. It's psychological, but it goes a long way. It's a very good thing to do. Or it may go as far as involving them in an advisory capacity to the temple, an advisory board or whatever. There's so many ways of involving people, quoting them in your newsletter. Congregational people, if they do some work, have their picture in your newsletter and tell a little story about them, involve them. Then there's many sins. There's 7 major sins. See, 7 major, just like 10 offenses. There's 7 sins in fundraising, okay? Now, one of the major sins is after you get the first gift, neglecting to do what? Huh? Ask for another donation. It's a sin not to ask for another donation. Maybe not immediately, but it's a fact that businesses that sell things, it takes 6 times more energy. It costs 6 times more to get a new customer in the door than it does to get a repeat sale from an old customer. So what that means in terms of congregational preaching is, when you get service, when you get a donation from the congregation, if you thank them, if you communicate with them, if you make them feel like they're part of the mission of Lord Chaitanya, when you ask them again, it'll be a lot cheaper, a lot easier, and you get a much bigger result. So we ask for renewal. Renewal. And you can see here, now here, 500,000 in our universe, maybe we get a very small response. Maybe we get 1%, okay, 1% response out of 500,000. So that's what, 5,000 people. 5,000 people who give a first gift. That may seem like that's a large number, actually. It's quite a large number. If 5,000 people give $20, hey, that's not bad. What's that? That's $100,000. Not bad pick through the mail. But anyway, say you get 1%, $5,000. Now here, out of 5,000 people, the renewal, you've thanked them, you've sent them BTG, you've involved them, they've gotten a better idea of who ISKCON is, they'll be a greater, maybe here you'll get 5% or even 10%. It'll cost you a lot less for this renewal. So if you get 10% of 5,000, you got 500 people, okay, who give you a second-time gift. Again, if you take care of them in every way, then somewhere down the line, these people will give you large amounts of money because they'll see they can trust you. You show them your accounts, that the money was spent properly for what you said it was going to be spent for. You thank them publicly when they come to the temple. You take good care of them, show them Vaishnav hospitality. These people, after about 5 or 6 years, they'll give you major gifts, large amounts of money, because they'll have faith in you. Again, this will be a smaller percentage. It's getting smaller as we go up the pyramid. Up here, what we get is the biggest category of donors. These are called bequesters. Anybody knows what a bequest is? This is the end of life membership. Okay? It's the end of life membership. Because it's the end of life. What happens? Legacy, right. It's called legacy or bequest or whatever. People do this. Believe me, they do it. Where's our share of $135 billion? 55% of that $135 billion goes to religious organizations. Where's our share? We have the we have the best, everybody admits, of the new religions, we have the best philosophy. It's just a question of our being more proactive. So this bequester, he could give his house, his property, his stocks and shares, whatever it is. So I'm going to end here. This is, like I said, this is the donor pyramid, and I'm really locked into this idea that there's a strong link between the Lakshmis and the Saraswatis. We work together. We overlap our services, because this could be first service, second service, chanting rounds, 4 regulative principles, off with his hair, shaved head or whatever. Even not off with his hair. He could be a fully surrendered devotee. Srila Prabhupada didn't live in the temple for the most part of his life. He lived outside the mutt. And there are many, many examples. Bhaktivinoda Thakur did not have a mutt or a mission or etc. He was a householder, a very wealthy householder. So this is the end. So it all ties together, and it involves using discipline. To do all of this, we use computers, and we analyze results, we segment lists, and you know, we send letters to different, you don't send a letter for vegetarianism to a group that, you know, I don't know, whatever, is not interested in vegetarianism but is interested in reincarnation. You change your letter according to the group that you're sending to. So it requires a little intelligence, a little analysis, but we can get very good results. Other organizations are doing it. We can also do it. It can improve our book distribution. It can improve our fundraising. It can improve all of the aspects of our work.
Thank you, Sridhar Swami Maharaj. Leave those, Haribol, leave those here. So that will conclude for today the Congregational Preaching Workshop. Now the book distribution, you can see they're all fired up to come in and begin the book distribution seminar. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock here. Hope to see you and your friends. Haribol, thank you very much.